Hi, I'm Sam from Tarot for Writing, and welcome back, or welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Seven of Wands. This is part of a series I'm doing inspired by the Drop 'em 78 challenge by Esther from Mindful Tarot. And the idea is to take a look at a single tarot card every day and go through the entire deck over the course of 78 days. And today's card is the Seven of Wands. If you're new to the channel, there are quite a few cards out there already. This is card 21, and there's a playlist if you'd like to catch up and look at the other cards. But what we're going to do is go over a brief definition of the card. I'm going to zero in on a detail and chat a little bit about what I'm drawing from that detail. And then, since I'm a paranormal fiction writer, I'm going to share a few ideas I have for using this card to develop a story, to flesh out a chapter, or create a character for my fiction writing. So let's dive right in with the definition. And to me, the Seven of Wands is the card of fighting back and standing your ground. So it talks, or it kind of, the ideas I get from it are that there may be obstacles in my way when I pull this card in a reading for myself, but as long as I'm ready to fight and ready to defend myself, I can overcome just about anything. So it's a little bit of fighting against the odds here, but even though you might be outnumbered, you have the high ground. You know, the person in this card may be in a defensive position, you know, the way he's holding his staff, his wand, but he has the high ground. And the sky is a light, behind him is a light blue. So he's thinking clearly, he's not giving up. It is not a position of despair. It's a position of, I got this. You know, I can stand my ground. I can fight this off. I can do this. That's kind of the energy I get from this card. So, fighting against the odds, standing your ground, that is sort of my definition of the Seven of Wands. Now, the thing that caught my attention this morning as I was studying this card and reading through a couple of different guidebooks is the idea that he is standing on a cliff. You know, I always thought about this as high ground, but I never really thought about him being backed into a corner, being pushed up against a cliff. So that kind of makes it more interesting, doesn't it? It's kind of takes on this whole air of desperation. He has to fight back. He doesn't have a choice. And it made me think a little bit about an old story I read. I believe it was Cortez, when he did one of his expeditions into the New World. Upon arrival and beaching the ships on the shore, he had his people burn the ships. So they had no way back home to, I believe, Spain. Don't quote me on that. They had to move forward. They had to go explore this country and find a different way to eventually get home, because the old route was no longer available to them with the burned ships. So that's kind of the idea I get here with him being backed against a cliff. You know, while it certainly isn't something you would wish for, and while it certainly adds some added danger and urgency to it, we can read some positivity into this. It might give us the motivation we need to get things done. That kind of thing. So that was the detail I zeroed in on today. Let's wrap this up by talking a little bit about how I would use a card like the Seven of Wands in my fiction writing. So when I'm creating a character, you know, I might come up with somebody who feels attacked, who feels like they're being backed into a corner. And that kind of makes me think about, why do they feel this way? Is it just situational? They're finding themselves in a situation where they're backed into a corner, either in their personal life or in their professional life. Or is it something that's more emotional? What kind of pain have they dealt with in the past that makes them constantly feel like they're being on the defensive? What kind of trauma, what kind of emotional wounds does this person have in their past? Or it could be somebody that is always itching for a fight, always needing to be right. That kind of person who, the kind of guy or girl that goes out to a bar and gets into a fight. That kind of person. So that could be interesting. Or it could be somebody who, as a default, always goes on the defensive. Again, maybe because they've been hurt a lot. Or how about a character who has to fight for every single thing that they have in their life? Somebody who didn't have an easy life, somebody who didn't have parents who helped them through school and helped send them to college. Maybe it is somebody who had to fight for the right to get an education, who maybe had to work 2 or 3 jobs to put themselves through school. That kind of thing. We can have the need to fight for all sorts of different areas in our lives. Maybe they had to really fight for the job that they want, the career they want, start low, work their way up, or go out there, hit the pavement and get all these interviews, get all these references. There's so many different ways that we could have a character fight for anything from the barest necessities, like being able to put a roof over their head, to being able to provide a good life for their child, to being able to get the job or the career that they want. Lots of different ideas to play with there. Another thing that I thought was kind of fun or interesting, especially in a romance, and that I wanted to elaborate on a little bit here in the video, is the idea of a group of people ganging up sort of on one character. So let's say we are in the middle of a romance. We have this couple who are madly in love, and because things are moving along too smoothly, and that makes for a boring story, a boring book, they get into an argument. Something happens, and both of them have their feelings hurt, and one of them seeks solace with their group of friends. So let's just, for the sake of discussion, say the woman kind of hangs out with her girlfriends and tells them how horrible the guy has been. And now this group of girlfriends goes out and gangs up on the guy, kind of adding to the whole tension, to the whole fight, and making it even harder for this couple to resolve their issues, because now he feels backed up into a corner. He feels like he has to defend himself, and it drives them further away, further apart from each other. So that could certainly make for an interesting couple of chapters until we have some sort of resolution where these two characters hopefully find their way back to each other, and they have to find a way to placate their friends as well. The card also, if I'm pulling it just to add a little bit of interest to a particular chapter or scene, makes me think of courage and strength, or on the flip side of despair, this despair you feel when you're backed into a corner. Or this whole idea of feeling cornered, of having that feeling of being pushed off a cliff. If I'm looking at a particular chapter, how could I work that into it? Is there maybe a work situation? Is there maybe something external in their life having to do with their family, having to do with something they enjoy in their social life that could make them feel like they're being backed into a corner. And it could have something to do with the relationship, but it doesn't necessarily have to do that. We could have a secondary storyline going on here where maybe our hero or our heroine is struggling not just with this budding romance, but this budding relationship, but they're trying to balance that with these external forces that are making them feel cornered. So that could be interesting because it surely will affect the date that our couple goes on, for example. Another thing I thought about is, what if this person's core beliefs are being challenged? What would that mean? However that could be, maybe the core belief was that they wouldn't fall in love until they were established in their career, and now all of a sudden the perfect person shows up. Or maybe one of their core beliefs was that you never ever under any circumstances date somebody that you work with and they fall for a co-worker. Or this person did not want to get stuck in their small town no matter what. Their main goal in life and the thing that drives them is to get out of this small town, to build a life somewhere else in the big city. But again, the perfect person shows up, and now their core belief that they don't want this small town life, they want something bigger and more exciting, is being challenged. There's a lot of different directions we can go into with this, and it kind of depends on what else I know about each of the characters, what I know about the setting, and what I know about the story in general. And if I'm pulling this card just for a little bit of guidance on a particular scene or chapter, it might be a sign that the story needs a little bit more tension, needs a little bit more interest, and then I can start to think about how in this very moment in the story, how can I back one or both of my characters up against a wall? That would be great for adding a little bit more interest. And then last but not least, sometimes I pull cards just because I'm trying to come up with an idea for what the next book's going to be about, what the next story is going to be. And if I pull the Seven of Wands, that can inspire a couple of different things. Usually I pull more than one card, but this could be an inspiration to write a bodyguard story. This person in the defensive stance looks like he could be defending somebody behind them that we can't see, somebody who's maybe ducking behind a cliff, that kind of thing. So it could certainly be a bodyguard or some sort of hero protector type of novel. Or it could be a story about fighting against the odds. And then I would pull additional cards to flesh out that idea and see what other themes I want to pull into this book and what else I want to tell in this particular tale. So I hope you found this interesting and you enjoyed my little exploration or tarot card deep dive on the Seven of Wands. If you did, I would love it if you could give this video a thumbs up. I'd love to hear what you think about the Seven of Wands. What does this card mean to you? I would love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment, and if you'd like, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. And I will be back with another video, and next we're going to look at the Eight of Wands. I'll see you then.